Welcome in to another episode of Cheese Focus Live. We've got a game on Sunday, and we're going to break it down. We're going to talk a little bit about just some update on the Kareem Hunt situation, sort of our thoughts on that. I also got a couple of thoughts on the defense, and we'll see if you guys agree with it or that. But really, we're just going to talk a little Chiefs Falcons for the hour that we have tonight. So let's just jump into it. My name is Quentin Morris. We got Thiz running the show in the background. And now two guys who are really going to struggle to stay up for the full 2.5-hour game on Sunday night. It's the old man himself and the professor. How are we doing, guys?
Hey, you work just as hard as me, so I don't know why you're talking. You'll be probably passed out knowing you.
Hey man, I'm just old, so it's hard.
JP will outlast us all. I'll be probably in bed right after. Like, all right, I'm done.
And I don't go to sleep until like 2, and I'm up by 7 every day. So, kind of is what it is. I've always been like that. But hey, we do have a game on Sunday, and we
do have a game on Sunday,
and we got some. We got Kareem back in the house, and he's looking really good. I mean, Andy's very impressed with him, guys. Very impressed. I am so happy for this guy. I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for him. I just hope he gets everything he really deserves.
Mm.
I mean, I do. I mean, everybody deserves a second chance, and he's been wanting to come back here for a very long time.
Mm.
He has opportunity, so it's perfect for him. Any thoughts?
Just kind of starting off when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, I can see this happening because you have Pacheco was gone, then you have Steele, you have P. Ryan's gonna be a third goal back. I'm like, who else are you gonna get? And I was looking, and I remember pulling up the list and looking who are the guys on there. I'm like, oh, Kareem Hunt's at the top of the list. I'm like, no brainer, why not? Either this is gonna work out really, really well, or it's gonna work out not well, or it can be kind of like, kind of like the Josh Gordon phase. But I do believe this has potential to be more like an up and up. Like every week he's gonna do something. I mean, from what it sounds like, he's doing his thing and is really jumping in. Don't be surprised if he starts Sunday because they have no one else. Now, there may be a rotation, but Kareem Hunt, I think once he gets rolling, he's going to get rolling. Plus, it's a Sunday night game. I don't know if they're going to release the starters are going to come out of the tunnel or the defense, whoever it's going to be. But if it's the offense, and if it all works out from what it's going to look like, Kareem Hunt, don't be surprised if we see the Kareem Hump of old come back. Yeah. I'm hoping because it'll be nice to see him kind of finish things out because he hasn't been here. But I've been on the record and I've said this. If Kareem Hunt didn't get in trouble, the Chiefs probably would have only won one Super Bowl. Now, because of the Kareem Hunt wasn't with us, we had to fix the defense. Things have been different ever since. So I'm excited he's here. I can't wait to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how exactly it works in terms of the rotation. I think Carson Steele is going to be the number one back. I think Carson Steele is going to get the majority of them. That's why I picked him up on my fantasy football team. I think that he's going to be used more as hey, it's 3rd and 7. We need someone to come out for a passing down, and he can either run one of those little dump off routes or he can pass block.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that, you can still hand the ball off to him, but I think he's mostly going to be used in passing situations. I don't expect him to get the full front of the carries. We talk about this all the time in regards to many positions, but he's not in football shape quite yet, right? This isn't a guy. He didn't have a training camp or any preseason or anything like that. So you don't want to just throw him to the wolves right away, right? You want to ease him into this. And I think that's why, we aren't going to see him a ton in the offense. But I think that when he's out there, I am very confident that he can make a positive impact on this team because, one of the things that made Kareem Hunt so good when he was here with Kansas City is in the passing situations, right?
That guy could bounce off some tackles.
Yeah, look, when I think of Kareem Hunt, I think of that little wheel route that he caught against New England, and he took like 45 yards to the house. So when I think of Kareem Hunt, I think of him as a passing back anyways. So give Carson Steele the majority of the carries. And then when you need to change a pace guy or it's 3rd and 7 and Carson Steele needs a break, run Kareem out there to pass block or catch out of the backfield. And I think that that's an effective way to use him for this week.
I think it's a good game to get him started off in too. It's a good non-conference game that you can get him out there, get his feet wet, and get him acclimated back to being in this offense.
Mhm.
What I was told, he is picking it up quick. Andy's happy. He's learning everything quickly. He's taking hits, and he's doing okay with the hits. He has gained about 10, 12 pounds, which is a good thing for him. Uh, Everybody says, "Oh my God, he looks fat." No, he doesn't. He looks like Kareem, but a little bit
He
thicker.
grew.
He
Yeah,
grew.
he
I mean, he
grew.
was a kid when he was with us. He's not a kid
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah. Uh, so I mean, it looks like it's going to be interesting to see him out there. But I do agree with Quentin. I think they're going to use him a lot in the passing game. That's where he flourishes at. Um, Last year he had 9 touchdowns. Yeah, he didn't have the best um, yards per carry last year, but again, you got to look at the team. You got to look at his situation
It's the
and how
Browns.
it's the Browns. They don't have the best offensive line, so you know, I don't know, man. I wouldn't put anything on what he did last year. Anything. That was the worst year of his career. Was last year. I mean, he had better stats when he got injured. That year. So I just wouldn't put anything into it. It's just a different team. So I have a feeling he's going to do really well in this offense. And that's not just, I mean, I hope he does too, but I mean, just from everything I've been told over the last 4 days, it's
Mhm.
just, they're very excited to have him back. Oh, and by the way, I did hear a little tidbit when he got back in and saw Kelsey and saw Mahomes. He was hugging almost to the point of crying.
Mm.
And yeah, he was really happy to be back, man. I mean,
I bet it. Yeah.
yeah, it was all thank you, God. Thank you guys for giving me an opportunity again. And I mean, he was
Mhm.
just so excited to be back. Hey, man, he's got an opportunity to get a ring this year. He really does.
Maybe
So
this is the year they're gonna have to rely on the run game even more than what they thought
you
because
never
of due
know.
to Hollywood Brown being injured.
Yep.
So I
I mean, he's
thought that
not
was
coming
gonna be
back
an
till
addition.
January minimum. So Brown.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's not just that, it's also just that all of the offense around the NFL is down.
Yeah,
We've
20
talked
touchdowns
about,
light.
yeah, 20 touchdowns less
Yes.
compared from this year to last year. I mean, that was before the Thursday night game kicked off. But, we've seen across the board rookie quarterbacks are really struggling, right? All
Mhm.
out of all the starting rookie quarterbacks, none of them have a single passing touchdown at this point.
Yeah.
So you've got offenses are just down across the board. And so if you can help manufacture, some offense through your running game, that's huge right now because every passing offense is struggling right now. That too high safety look is really giving a lot of people fits. It's something that Kansas City's had to deal with for the past 2 years, but the
Mhm.
rest of the NFL is starting to use it against non-traditional teams, right? Teams that you're not just using it against heavy passing offenses, you're now using it against teams all around football, and it's really starting to impact and
Mhm.
the way offenses are run. And it's going to take some time for offenses to adjust, and some of them won't,
Mhm.
right? We're going to see some really suppressed offensive numbers this year from some teams, and
Mhm.
it's because of this too high safety look that's really giving people fits.
Mhm. Well, you're
Well, I
seeing
will.
a.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Oh, all I was gonna say is we see that people are saying maybe the two high safety should be banned. No, let teams figure out how to work around it.
Yeah, I mean, and
That's what
that's
you need to
something
do.
that it might happen. It might happen. Um,
Mhm.
from what I understand, they are considering trying to
No,
You
limit.
can't ban a
stop it.
formation though. You can't ban a formation
You
on
can. I
defense.
mean, but they're trying to figure out how to limit how far back they can go, and they may do that. Look how the NFL operates. Think about it from this perspective. It's a passing league. That's what
Mhm.
they want to keep it because that's what everybody likes. When you can't pass the ball, then you got to make a change.
Then they need ban the tush push.
Yeah, I
I
think
think that's going
that
to happen anyway.
I think that we're in a situation to where offenses just haven't adjusted to that look yet. I mean, we see that this is not just true for football. This is true for all sports. But there are ebbs and flows into how things are run. And when you have a huge adjustment on one side of the ball, the defense running this too high safety look stuff, right? You have to wait for these offensive minded head coach and offensive head coaches to make adjustments to that. And we're only 2 weeks into the season, so we haven't quite seen those adjustments yet. Eventually, we're going to see the turnaround for it. We just aren't there yet. But
Okay, but they've been playing us that way since 2020.
I know, us specifically, the Chiefs, but this hasn't been league wide like this before.
No, it hasn't been. But they.
Oh, I think we lost him
right now. Bo Nix is hurting right now.
Bo Nix is hurting right now. Caleb Williams is hurting right now. Like, if it weren't for the Washington quarterbacks rushing touchdowns, he wouldn't have any. He wouldn't have any offensive production. So yeah, this is a league wide issue that offensive touchdowns are limited.
Okay, but look, I expected Caleb Williams to struggle. I did. It was something that I absolutely expected. I did not think he was going to come out and take the league by storm. I didn't think he was going to come out and play well at all. First of all, his arrogance was way overshadowed his playing ability. He'd never played an NFL game. When he texted that kicker and said, "You're not going to have to punt very much, just letting you know," that kind of sealed his fate. And then the fact that he is playing for Chicago, one of the worst franchises in the league, probably.
Well, they have a lot of offensive weapons, but they can't move the ball.
They don't have coaching. They don't have nothing. They're not good. They're just not a good team. They're not coached well. I look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix is just man. He got sacked by a shadow. Anybody see that in the Pittsburgh game? I put it out on Twitter. Dude, TJ Watt's shadow sacked his ass. And I'm not kidding you. You can pull it up on Chiefs Focus right now. Sacked. I mean, it was crazy. He's scared. And I understand. He got a lot put on his shoulders, especially from Sean Payton, talking him up the way he did. First it was, he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. Now he reminds me of Drew Brees. You can't do that to a 22-year-old kid, no matter where he ranked at. You can't do that. And expect him to come out and play as well as they want him to play. It's not going to happen. That team's not designed for that much success right off the bat. Sean Payton's never worked with a rookie quarterback, ever. He's never been good with him. He lived on Drew Brees his entire career. So for him to think that he's going to come out and just make this rookie a superstar in the first season was, first of all, the wrong mindset and the wrong way of approaching this kid. And I think a lot of players are coming across that right now. I mean, even C.J. Stroud is struggling this year when he didn't last year. So I don't know, man. I agree the two high safety shell is probably a part of it, but I know they played it a lot last year, and it wasn't just against us. So
it is more than that too. I mean, there are just, when you've got guys like you've got some quarterbacks like Justin Herbert who are now in offenses that don't throw the ball anymore, and is it, Jim Harbaugh? Jim Harbaugh doesn't believe in passing the ball anymore. So, when you've got one of your offenses, is now turned into a run offense, that's going to suppress your offensive numbers. So it's a lot of things. Of course, it's not just the one thing. But yeah, that is something that we're going to have to pay attention to. And in order to really talk about the Falcons here, the Falcons are another one of those teams that are capable of playing that. Right. This is a team that before the season started, I was like, I'm not worried about the Falcons because your quarterback's coming off of an Achilles tear and you don't have anybody that can rush the passer. Well, they went out and they fixed one of those by trading for the New England Patriots best pass rusher and Judon. So, they do have a lot of talent on that team on the offensive and defensive side.
Yeah.
If Kirk Cousins can get the ball out fast enough, under that 2.5 second mark, right? If he can get the ball out quickly, that is a potent offense, and they have playmakers on defense. So this is in no way a cakewalk that Kansas City's walking into.
No. They played very well this last week. There's teams, it's kind of a wacky season if you think about it, because there's teams out there that nobody expected to play as well as they have. Look at the Saints. Nobody expected that out of the Saints last week. Nobody did. And the NFL, I got to say this really quick. The NFL is really getting ticky-tack with these penalties or these fines for players. What they did, look, Derek Carr, that was probably the best game he's ever had in his career. And he did the Michael Jackson move, and they fined him $14,000.
Are you
Come on, man.
surprised?
Let the guy have some fun. Jeez. I mean, the guy he was a stick in the mud his entire career. And then he finally does something. He has a great game, and he does his little Michael Jackson dance, grabs his nuts, and the next thing you know, they're fining him. That's ridiculous. But anyway, nobody expected that game last week. You know who's going to get fired midway through the season? Take a crazy guess. Who's my hot take that's going to get fired head coach?
I don't think it's a hot take.
Who do you think it is?
Nick Sirianni.
God, yes. That dude's done.
But it's not a hot take.
No, it's not. He sucks. He's probably – look, this is the year that he actually had to start calling plays. Have you noticed that? Everything he has done has been a mistake. Everything. You know where he needs to be, Caleb? The WWE. He'd be a great hype man in the WWE. He needs to take over that Vince McMahon role, you know? But he's not an NFL head coach.
I don't think even his own players really like him to an extent. I feel like they don't like certain things that he does.
They tolerate him.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's a better coach out there.
Yeah, he had to write a business plan just to keep his job this year, and it was a full-fledged business plan. And he hasn't held up to one sentence of it.
Well, maybe they start off one and well, I don't know who's going to be the interim. I mean, I don't really know who else is there who could take over, but maybe it's one of the things where the interim comes in.
Yeah, he's just not good.
But I feel like he'll probably stay out the rest of the year the way things normally work. So
I don't know. Hy Rosen ain't going to put up with that shit very long.
Well, he's put up with a lot, so you never know. But you're not. I don't think you're wrong.
Phillips right. He said they're 3-7 since I don't want to hear that shit about it, Chiefs fans. Remember when he said that in the talk?
Yeah, well, we all remember that.
Yeah. I mean that was honestly they're 3-7 since then. But you know, if you really look at it, the Bengals are 1-3 against us since Burrowhead. Since the Burrowhead comment, they've been 1-3. Maybe that has something to do with it. Who knows? But anyway, let's move on. Injury report. Anybody? You want to do the injury report?
Injury report. There's nothing significant. Everybody was a full participant in practice. If you weren't, if your leg wasn't snapped in half. The only one that I really want to mention here is that Xavier Worthy. He was a full participant in practice on Wednesday and Thursday, but he was listed on the injury report for that quad injury, which I believe is what we saw him hurt in the game.
Yeah.
So
who's Robin? Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, right. So nothing significant on actually really either side here. On the Falcons side, they only had one person limited in practice, and it's a hip injury, which is one of their backup defensive edge rushers. So for the most part, both of our teams are going into this week 3 game pretty healthy, as nobody made it on the injury report and was limited in practice if you hadn't broke your leg or shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, 2 of our starters are gone, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it's good. We need to talk a little bit about the Raiders beating the Baltimore Ravens. Did you want to bring that up real quick?
We do need to talk about the rest of the AFC West.
Yes. So we got to do the AFC West expansion. I think that's one of the teams we need to talk about. We probably bring that one up first. Hey, man, I'm happy for the Raiders that they won a game.
Ooh, gross.
I mean, look, it is what it is. But I hope they don't put all their hopes and dreams into that one game, because they did play a team that is not very good, and their coach makes another coach that makes mistakes. Whether it be time management or timeout management, he's just not good. Clock management is not his style. He makes some mistakes. They got a quarterback that doesn't really like to throw the football, and I don't know if their defense is all there mentally, but I hope the Raiders don't get too, especially their fan base, because God, that was like their Super Bowl beating the Ravens. They're very excited right now over this game, but their quarterback really didn't do shit. So they really have to look at it from that perspective. Anybody else got any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I'll just say a little bit. I mean, I wasn't surprised that the Raiders won. I mean, I was watching a tad of it. I saw, oh, they got the stop. They scored, then they got the stop. I'm like, uh-oh. Classic Ravens. They blow a 10-point lead in the quarter and fourth quarter, and you see what happens. I think the Raiders are going to be a little bit better than what people think they are, but they don't have their quarterback of the future. Minshew is only going to get them so far. I think he's going to do some good things and he's going to do some bad things. But this is not surprising me to beat the Raiders. But what does surprise me is the team held through some adversity. They held through some adversity. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. I think they're still going to be a tough opponent to beat. I think since they've downgraded a quarterback to an extent, it's probably going to be easier to beat them. But when you play Raiders during Raiders week, anything's possible.
Yeah, very true.
Here's the thing is that when we're talking about Baltimore, they're 0-2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only 11% of 0-2 teams have ever made the playoffs after starting 0-2. They now face the Cowboys coming up this Sunday. Now I know we make our jokes about the Cowboys, but they are a good football team. I know they just got the crap beat out of them by the Saints.
They just got killed, but yeah.
But that is a good football team. There have been 2 teams in NFL history that have had the MVP that have had the previous year's MVP at quarterback and started 0-3. Both of them went 7-9 and missed the playoffs. So they're looking real good as to being that team that misses that is the surprising team to miss the playoffs this year as the Baltimore Ravens. As in for the Raiders, I don't care. I don't care what you do because I know what you are. You're a team that has a really good defensive line, has a picket fence for defensive backs, and has a quarterback that every once in a while just makes a beautiful throw. And I'm not worried about anything else. So this is the NFL. There are going to be upsets. And I'm not worried about the Raiders at all.
That's fair.
Who's next? Who do you want to talk about next?
We could let's do the Broncos because we already talked about Bo Nix a little bit, or Mr. Bo Picks. My man, I swear to God, cannot throw the ball more than 4.5 yards down the field. Have you looked at his passing tree? I mean, it's just like it's dink and dunk, and I don't know. Part of me is like, well, if you remember the Drew Brees offense, it wasn't this bad, but it also wasn't, pushing the ball down the field. So part of me is thinking that this is a scheme thing to where Sean Payton is sort of forcing the plays to be this short. But halfway through the game last week, Bo Picks was going like 6 for 8 for 35 yards. I mean, the guy had high completion percentage and gets like 2 yards per carry or 2 yards per throw. You might as well be running the ball. So that is an offense that anytime any sort of hiccup comes along, it's going to fall apart. There was no power behind that offense.
I agree. I again brought this up. Sean Payton's not good with rookie quarterbacks as much as he thinks he is. I think they put way too much pressure on Bo Nix, especially Bo Picks, with all the comments that they made, especially Sean Payton. Originally he said something about, he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. Then he reminds me of Drew Brees. This kid's going to bring us to the promised land and all this other shit he said. He can't do that. You can't do that to a young kid when you're a first-time head coach or first-year head coach, I should say, and you don't even know what your team's going to be like. You have no idea what your team's going to be like. Regardless if you've done this for 10 years or 30 years, you have no idea, especially him. You got to think about his career as a head coach. Who was his quarterback? Drew Brees. Okay. Drew Brees was an extremely talented player, extremely intelligent player, and already had 2 years under his belt before he went to the Saints. If you remembers, he got injured.
Yeah, he was a Charger.
He was a Charger. He was drafted by the Chargers. So I don't know why these coaches do this to these quarterbacks, but I think it's putting way too much pressure on them straight out of college, and it's hurting them. It's really hurting them. I don't see Denver winning more than 5 or 6 games this year, max, and that's really max. probably pushing what I think their limits are. I don't know, man. I think they're going to really they're going to the day that they made those mistakes and said the things they said. I don't think they're set up to win.
No, I don't think they are either. They're similar to the Raiders in the sense that there's just no firepower on that team. I don't look at the Broncos roster and I'm like, man, that player is the guy that you
They don't
got to
scare
watch out
anyone.
for. There really isn't, and that's what I mean by when that offense falls apart. When it stalls, you get a delay game, or you get smashed in the backfield for a 2-yard loss on a run play, and now it's 2nd and long, 3rd and long. I'm not worried. You're not picking up that first down. I mean, you're just not. There's nothing on that offense that really scares me. And then the same thing on the flip side, you have spent so long trying to cut salary to try and pay Russell Wilson that, you don't have a lot of talent on that defensive side either. So in a lot of ways, the Raiders are better off than you, because at least, like, if we're having an honest conversation with ourselves, the Raiders have one of the best defensive lines in football. Whereas the Broncos don't have anything that's good in football. There is nothing on that Broncos position groups that worries me moving forward.
Yeah, I would agree. Kind of same sentiment. They don't seem like they have much. You never know what's going to happen on the week we play the Broncos because of everything that happens there. But again, they're just another team where not much there. Yeah, they have Bo Nix, but they need to build up their stuff in the draft because the way they're looking is not looking great. So just another team. I'm like, we'll see what happens.
Okay, we got the Chargers next.
Yeah, the Chargers.
Look, man.
Go ahead, JP.
I have a lot of faith in Justin Herbert. I think he's had it rough his entire career. I still think if he played, look, man, if he was with Miami last year, that was a totally different game. If he was with any playoff team last year, except for the Bills, maybe, it was a different outcome. Whether it be offense or NFC or AFC. He's a great quarterback. I mean, he's been through 5 head coaches, 4 OCs, and now he's got a head coach that doesn't want to throw the football because he lives in 1976-ville. That's where he's at. I mean, he goes home and watches, Hollywood Nights and Friday Night Lights, and he thinks this is how you're supposed to play football. And he wears those big Coke bottle glasses, and his eyes are crossed, and he looks goofy as hell. But he doesn't like to throw the football. He wants to run 150 yards a game and wear his running backs out and hope his defense can hold. The 1991 Marty Schottenheimer mindset. I still think they're going to come in second in the division because they're a better football team than everybody else other than us, but they're still going to struggle. Just because
but they're playing board games right now. They have back-to-back East Coast games, and so they stayed on the East Coast, and Harbaugh told them to bring board games.
It's true.
They're playing Settlers of Catan out in the hotel lobby.
He has an interesting way of doing things.
He really does. He's just a different cat, man.
He's good for football.
He is. He's just a weird guy.
Yes.
He's totally different than his brother in so many ways. But he's just a weird dude. I mean, they're down there playing Chutes and Ladders and shit and, just acting weird. And I don't know, man. I mean, I bet Herbert's probably thinking, what did I ever do in my life? I'm good at what I do. Yeah, I got
might get traded.
I have a feeling he's going to. I'm glad you brought it up because I really believe that's going to happen. And I don't think it's going to happen at the end of the year, but it's going to happen. He's going to go somewhere.
In the offseason.
Harbaugh acts like he loves him. Thinks he's the best thing that ever lived.
Well, he is backing him up.
So. Well, and he's already been paid, so it's not like them turning to a run-first offense is going to affect his paycheck. He's already got the huge contract. I think it's good for him because you're taking pressure off of him. And if you think about it too, there are no weapons on that offense. Once again, it's another AFC West team that just has nothing to speak of at the wide receiver position. The only guy they have is Quentin Johnston, who had his first decent game as an NFL wide receiver last week. But, you're now in a system to where, hey, we want to run the ball. That takes a lot of pressure off your quarterback. And if you don't have a lot of weapons on the outside, being able to run the ball is a legitimate threat, especially when you've got the good. I mean, they've got a good 1-2 punch at running back right now with J.K. Dobbins and Gus the Bus. So, yeah, if this is the way that they're gonna, I'm more worried about their offense than I am any other offense. Of the other two teams. They also, as a defensive unit, look, Harbaugh, everywhere Harbaugh has been, he has won. It may not be year one, but every spot that he goes to, college or professional, he always gets the turnaround started, and within a very short amount of time, the first couple years, like that is a very competitive, whether it's a team that he's able to turn around. So I'm not worried about the Chargers competing for the division this year. But next year, we might have to start having those conversations. And I think it's because Harbaugh's a hell of a coach, and he has a hell of a system that works all over the place. So, yeah, I'm not worried about them competing for this division, but I do think that they're going to make a serious run at the wild card spot. I do think that. I think that, if Kansas City slips up, then we're going to be sitting here trying to figure out, what math do we have to do in order for Kansas City to win the division. Or on the flip side, it'll be, hey, if Kansas City does slip up, the Chargers are right there to try and steal the AFC West from us. So yeah, the Chargers are a good football team. They're well coached, and they have a scheme that has worked for decades at this point.
Yeah, and the way kind of how the thing Harbaugh always works, he's an old school coach. So these tactics he's doing does not surprise me. So because I feel like they're going to, this year maybe not really, but next year they're going to become a threat for a little bit. I'll be honest with you, against me a little bit closer. But I feel like with the innovation of the Chiefs and us doing really good with the run defense, we're going to be kind of pretty much just fine.
Yeah, and Kansas City historically, during the Spagnuolo era, it's been the run defense that's been a struggle. And, Kansas City going up against Atlanta this week, right? We've got to worry about Bijan Robinson, who is one of the most talented running backs in football. And Kansas City's going to have to worry about that because, man, can they run the football? And I know that Nick Bolton has gotten some blame for some poor play that he's had the first couple of weeks. And I think it's because this team is really you're starting to miss Willie Gay a little bit. And really it's just that you're missing the athleticism at that position, right? We talked about over the last couple years, Nick Bolton was the green dot. He was the guy to get everything set up, and he was the guy that could shoot the gap and make the tackle. Where Willie Gay was more of your finesse linebacker. He could cover tight ends. He could cover running backs. Right, he was really good in the passing game. Well, Kansas City is really missing that element in this defense right now. That's why I think Kansas City is really struggling against tight ends. And I'm really worried about how Kansas City is going to do against a guy like Bijan Robinson, who is just extremely athletic.
That's a good point. Yeah, and ultimately, I think I expect Chanel to kind of do his thing very soon. But again, the defenses sometimes historically will start slow, but then get better over time. So I'm not really worried, but curious to see what will happen.
Well, you see what Philip put up there. Drew Frankel has not allowed a touchdown in 480 consecutive snaps. That's pretty strong. I mean,
yeah.
No matter how you look at it, that's good. But hey, I said this, and you guys argue with me. I knew he wasn't. I mean, I guess I just willed or tried to will him to stay on this football team, Willie Gay. I knew that was going to be the guy that they missed on defense because he was so damn athletic. He was probably one or two probably the top athletic guy in the linebacker crew in the NFL. The only other guy that I can even say would be close to him athletic wise is Fred Warner, or what's his name, Warner.
Yeah, from 49ers.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's just an athletic player. He can cover everybody. He's fast. He did things that be honest with you, that none of our other linebackers have done so far. Now, Shamari Connor, I mean, I don't know. I look at some of these guys and I think, man, they've got the potential, but they're just not Willie Gay.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
His just athleticism was off the charts. And we do miss him. Not much you can do about it. So
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how because you've got one of the more questioned tight ends, right? In terms of Kyle Pitts, because Kyle Pitts, I mean, when he came out, the entire discussion about Kyle Pitts is, what could he be coming into the NFL? There was a reason he was taken top 10. Kyle Pitts can be an elite receiver. We just haven't seen it yet. Now you're going up against a team that through the first couple of weeks has struggled significantly to cover the tight end. What is Kansas City going to do in order to stop Kyle Pitts?
he looked really good last week. I mean, Pitts looked good last week.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, we've been exploited by the tight ends in 2 weeks straight. We were exploited by tight ends,
and not like great tight ends either, right? Like
no,
Isaiah
mediocre.
Likely and Mike Gesicki, they're not bad tight ends. They're on the top. They're on the upper echelon of the tight end world. But they're not a Travis Kelce. They're kind
They're
of
not
level.
a George Kittle for that matter.
Right. They're not
really
on
not.
the top
Neither
end.
one of them are a George Kittle at that.
Right. And yet they gave up almost 100 yards to Gesicki last week.
Yeah.
Good point.
It was a struggle. So that's something that they're going to have to really work on defensively. They're going to have to work on covering tight ends. And I think teams are going to exploit that. They watch the first
as
two
they
games.
should
Exploit it.
Yeah,
because Trent McDuffie has allowed 35 yards this year on number one wide receivers. So you're not going to get the ball out to your number one wide receiver if McDuffie is locking him down. Guy's a master padlock right now. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to try and dump it down to your tight ends. And if you give some of those big guys just a couple yards of separation, we've seen this for years now. You get just a little bit of separation from your tight end, and those can just break open. We saw that against both the Ravens, and we saw that against the Bengals, to where you give some of those tight ends, they may not be the fastest guy on the field, but they're great in space, and that's what Kyle Pitts is as well. So yeah, that's going to be a huge matchup for this game on Sunday night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll see how Spags and the defense actually adjusted after those first two games. Last year was a little bit of an anomaly for the Chiefs because they had every single piece in place to be, second best defense in the league. They're still top 10 right now, weirdly enough. But I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that everybody else is struggling. If you really look at it, because we didn't look. I mean, the secondary looks phenomenal. The line looks pretty decent, but it's that middle of the field that we're having a problem with. Even Drew Tranquil had a little bit of an issue last week. So, I don't know, man. Spags is a master at cleaning up messes like this. He knew Willie Gay wasn't coming back. He knew there was things that were going to be. He knew Snead wasn't coming back. And I really want to say this. I'm happy for Snead. He got paid, and he's playing very well. So all you haters out there that said, he's not going to be able to play as well without McDuffie, he's playing pretty damn good. I mean, he's doing his thing, doing everything he's supposed to do. Is he on a Super Bowl team? Nope. Does he already have his rings? Yep. So he's getting paid. There's things that we just have to clean up. And Spags is great at that. He's very good at cleaning things up. I'm not too worried about it right now. If it was week 7 or 8, I'd be a little more concerned. But usually when there's an issue like this, by week 6, 7, 8, it's already cleaned up on the defensive side of the ball. So.
On the offensive side of the ball, I know we've hit on the run game with Kareem Hunt and what we're expecting sort of from there. But in the passing game, we've seen once again, Mahomes' numbers. Last week, he had his worst game of his career, numbers-wise, where he's played an entire game. So we're now going up against an Atlanta team who is fine on the back end, not great. What are you expecting from Patrick Mahomes? Are you expecting to see more of the vintage Mahomes up against the Falcons?
I expect them to do a little bit more dink and dunking just due to last week. I feel like a couple times they got greedy, specifically whenever he threw that second interception. It's like, let third quarter run out. Why are we trying to get another play? I can see them being maybe a little bit more dink and dunk, but when it's really time, they're going to go for it. But the Falcons have typically kind of always lined up pretty good against the Chiefs on defense. So I don't think it's going to, I think it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to really hand the ball out to Kareem and Still and P. Ryan, you guys, and just kind of let them grind because passing, I feel like in certain instances can only take you so far.
I agree, but I also think last week was the amount of pressure that Mahomes was getting and the amount of people that were in his face after that, really after the first quarter, that I think he did get greedy, but I think he was more irritated, which you don't normally see out of him. Usually he'll just change his game up and do something different. I think this week, if he sees that the offensive line is holding up, especially with Wanya Morris starting, he may start to go a little deeper. He may, and I think they're going to start getting Travis involved a little bit more. They have really put him on almost like playoff watch. It's like, okay, we don't want you to get injured. We don't want you to, so let's just try to get everybody else involved. I asked a couple of questions about that, and it's kind of a combination of things. They wanted to get the new guys acclimated. They wanted to see how they would do together. And not only that, but yeah, see, Philip says, missing pass protection becomes a crucial as Mahomes playing a clean game. It is true. But I think they were trying to get everybody acclimated, with Worthy in there and see how they would do together for the first couple of games against the two toughest teams we're going to be playing for a while. I got a feeling Kelsey's going to get more involved moving forward. So, and he needs to. He's 35 and he still plays very well. He's still out there the majority of the snaps. He's out there running the field, making blocks. That pass that was called back on him in that Ravens game was a really nice catch he made. Got out there, sat down, did what he had to do. Right now, I think it's just Andy trying to get everybody acclimated, and he did it at the right time. He's 2-0 against two pretty tough football teams, and he did it without Travis Kelce really playing. 34 yards, I think, in the first game, and what do you have? He had nothing.
Like eight, something small, something really small.
Tiny yards in the second game. Now it's time. You got to get him involved. Now that you know that, your wide receivers aren't going to do everything you expect them to do without Kelce being involved. Especially, I mean, Rice is going to do it. It is what it is. Rice is a beast, and he's going to do what he has to do. But Worthy's a new kid.
Yep.
So, and without Hollywood Brown out there, man, look, you hear all these people say, well, if Hollywood was there, we don't know that. We have no idea. We have no idea how well he would have done in the first two games if he was healthy. We really don't. We all assume he would do well. It doesn't mean he will. So we can't just put all that on, well, it's because Brown's not there. It's not true either. You got a lot of other wide receivers on this team. So, and you got more tight ends. You got some good tight ends on this team. You got Wiley. You got, what's his face there that we just re-signed? So, I don't know. We'll just have to see, man. You want to do score predictions?
Yeah, let's do that.
He said Rice, and he said Rice is the guy who should always rise to the occasion. Absolutely. He's a really, he's not the fastest guy, and yeah, we got.
He's quick. That's the thing. That's what
everybody's not exactly.
He's not fast. He's quick.
Damn. I got so tired of hearing people say, "Well, he's slow." I don't give a shit what his 40 time was. It means nothing to me. His game speed is insane, and he can. I don't know if you guys noticed in that Ravens game, there was a couple passes that were thrown to him that, honest to God, you didn't see come out of Mahomes' hands, and he snagged it.
So
and then not only snagged it on the run, but he just had beautiful route running ability. That kid is going to be a phenomenal star for the rest of his career, and hopefully he stays with Kansas City, because I got a lot of faith in that kid. Worthy, he's a work in progress, but he's going to do well.
We'll see. We'll see what Worthy turns into. Because here's what's going to happen is the NFL's going to make an adjustment to what he does well, and he's going to have to make the adjustment to the adjustment. And what will he turn out to be? Because, for his entire life, he's been the best athlete on the field. He's been the fastest guy on the field. And at a certain point, he's going to run into the situation to where either someone's going to match his speed, or he's going to face a real physical team, kind of like what he did against the Bengals, and he's going to get jammed a lot. And what are you going to be able to do? What are you going to be able to do then? And we haven't seen a lot of that yet. We'll have to wait and see. So obviously, I'm confident in him and what this Chiefs team can do, but we'll just have to. It is just sort of a waiting game. It takes one corner to really show the rest of the NFL what works against him, and then what are you going to do?
Yeah, and then he's got to make his changes. You're right. He's got to adjust, and he's got to be able to adjust. I think he will be able to.
Yeah,
I think he's an intelligent kid, but I think there's going to be growing pains for him. He said Rice poses enough speed to pose a consistent deep threat. He does. The only thing that I agree with that. The only problem I have is that with him, you don't have to go too deep because his yak is insane. Rice's yak is insane. I mean, he's got such phenomenal route running skills that, if you took it 7 yards or 15 yards to him, he's going to gain another 7 to 15 yards. So him, I'm not worried about. I am a little worried about Worthy and the growing pains. And with that too high safety that they keep playing, it's going to be difficult even for Worthy to be able to get open sometimes. We saw that last week. So, dude, did you guys notice last week? We were on the 9-yard line, I think it was. See how deep the safeties were playing?
Mm-hmm. They don't want him to get the ball.
Man. It's hard, dude. It's something, and rookies are really going to have a hard time adjusting to that because they don't play that in college. So they're going to have a hard time adjusting to that. But we can do the game. We can do the scores now. Quentin, you want to go first, or Caleb, you want to go first?
You can go first, Caleb.
I'm going to say I think the Chiefs. I'm going to say this game's probably going to be a little bit more closer than where people are expecting. I don't expect it to be a blowout, but I expected, let's say, 27-18 Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to get a touchdown, but they're going to get a good amount of field goals though too. I think the defense is going to continue to stop them. No, we're Chiefs are going to win.
Oh, I thought you said 28 or 27-18 Falcons, and I went, oh wait,
no, 27-18 Chiefs.
My internet's acting weird out here, so
it's all good.
Remember, I'm in the middle of nowhere. What do you got, Quentin?
27-24 Chiefs, but it's another late fourth quarter field goal that gives Kansas City the lead late.
I'm going to go 28-17 Chiefs. I am, just because I think this is the game that Travis Kelce gets more involved. And when he gets involved, things change. So I'm going to go 28-17 Chiefs. With that being said, anybody else got anything else?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. It'll be interesting to see. There's some big changes that'll be coming this week on the left tackle, and we aren't going to know about how they're going to play the left tackle spot until game time. Andy Reid has been pretty close-mouthed about how they're going to play the left tackle spot, so that'll be big moving forward. So that'll just be seeing who takes the first reps at the left tackle will be big. So keep an eye out on that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And don't be surprised, I should say, if this week ends up being even close to what last week was, as far as that position's concerned. Don't be surprised if we don't end up with an old friend back in the building. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Another one.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've heard that 4 times now since last week. And I have a feeling it might just happen if they have another bad game like that, because Mahomes is not going to put up with it. He wants to be able to utilize what they brought in this year, and he can't do it if he's constantly under pressure. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Wanya Morris at that position. I think he's better than Kingsley right now, depending on who he's going up against. But I wouldn't be surprised, man. Don't be surprised. I'll just say that. Well, that being said, we will talk to you guys again. Are we going to do a game? We're going to do after the game. We're going to do Tuesday. How you guys want to do it?
You can talk.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Okay, are you
I
there?
don't know.
Yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
Damn internet.
Can you repeat
Well,
the question?
we can do. What was that?
I was saying we could at least talk about it on Tuesday. I think we lost JP.
I'm in trouble.
I think we lost him.
It's the internet, man.
All right,
Can't
Diz.
control
Close it down, Diz.
Oh.